In this video, I'll introduce you to Marker Emitter scripts. A marker emitter is a custom marker emitter is a script that you define and attach to the dungeon object, and that lets you emit markers anywhere in the map. So as you've seen previously, markers are emitted by the dungeon builder. First it generates the layout, and then it generates the markers around that layout, and then you could create a level like this, right? But the decoration that you perform on your level is only based on the markers that the builder has emitted for you. So I have a few markers emitted by the builder around the edge of the corridor. So I have placed some fence meshes, and I have placed a mesh for stairs and walls and so on. But if I want to place my meshes from the theme file at places where the builder hasn't emitted any marker, then I can't do so. But with marker emitter scripts, I can do that. So if you'd like to emit something that was not defined by the original builder, you can just create a marker emitter, and this marker emitter is invoked right after the dungeon builds the layout. And at this stage, you can query the model and emit your own markers. So here I have an example where I have this scene, but I would like to decorate the area outside of the layout with trees and other decorative props. So I'm going to emit a marker that I already have here. So if I navigate to Dungeons, Marker Emitter Grid, there are some sample markers that I already have. So one of it is empty space emitter. So if I select this, all I have to do to add a marker emitter is just drag this script and drop it into the dungeon game object. So I would like the empty space marker. So what this does is, this is a marker. If you want to create a marker emitter, just subclass from dungeon marker emitter under the dungeon architect namespace. So what this does is it finds the empty area nearby the dungeon layout, and it emits a marker named empty space. So you can specify any name you like here. And once that is done, you can add this marker empty space in your theme file, say new marker, and create the new marker and name it empty space. And whatever you attach here would be attached wherever this script has emitted the marker on. So I'm just going to delete that. And let's go back to the grid. And now when I added this marker and I build it, it is still the same. Why? Because we don't have any nodes here that attach anything to a marker named empty space. So I already have another theme here that does just that. So here I have a bunch of markers named empty space _1 _2 3 4 5. So another feature that I've added to this script, marker emitter script, is that I can also have an index. So this is just one implementation of a marker emitter, right? We are just looking at one implementation. I'll show you another implementation soon. So in this implementation, I just accept a indexed name for the marker. So it will create, as it goes further and further away from this, it will create empty space 1, empty space 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So in empty space 1, I would like to add a random tree and some wooden prop clusters like barrels and stuff. And in 2, I would like to add a random tree, but with a lower probability. So you see the probability is 2. So we want lesser trees as we go further and further away. And when we keep going further away, we would like to have bushes, the small trees with just 10% probability and so on. So a dungeon object can accept multiple theme files. So I'm going to add this as well. Let me take the trees and build. And now we have taken all of those the marker emitter has emitted these markers, and these markers were later on picked up by the theme file. And whatever you defined here was taken and inserted into the scene. Now I'll give you another example. Let me delete the terrain. We don't want the terrain. Okay, sometimes we have a level like this, and sometimes we would like to have a water plane in, say we would like to have a plane that engulfs the whole dungeon layout. And for us to do that, we need to find the lowest point of the dungeon, because since this is a dynamic procedural dungeon, we like to, after the dungeon is built, we like to know where the lowest point is, so we can emit a plane for, say, for water or for lava or something. So in this case, we're going to do that. So let me select the dungeon and go to the theme. And now here I have placed another marker emitter called find lowest point. So it's a simple script. What it does is it goes through the model. So here the dungeon builder has built the model, then it has emitted, then it has called our marker emitter. From here we can query the model and see how the dungeon looks like. So we can emit our own marker. So I'm querying the model, and I'm finding the lowest minimum Y value for each cell. And then once I have that, I set the position and the scale of this, and I name it whatever you call it. So it's set to lowest point. So let me go to the theme file and search for lowest point. Okay, so lowest point has, I unlinked this for now. So lowest point has a mesh. It's not visible because it's done. So this is just one quad with a material attached to it. So if I add that, then it has created a mesh at the lowest point, and I can add any material on it, say water material or whatever. So these are some of the examples of marker emitters. To create your own marker emitter, you have to subclass from dungeon marker emitter under the dungeon architect namespace and drop that script into the dungeon actor. This is very useful, especially if after you have built the dungeon, you can create a marker emitter to find, say for example, some special rooms in your dungeon, and you can selectively place a marker, and then you can decorate that marker with anything you like. For example, you can have an NPC or any other objects on your room.